the Dirty Sports Podcast. I said, welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast with Andy, Ruther, and Joe Prano. Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast.
Welcome to the Dirty Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Ruther, coming to you live from Cincinnati, Ohio, with my co-host from Port Hueneme, California, Joey No Chill Prano.
Hello, Andy.
Good morning.
Morning.
On this leap day.
That's right. Leap day. February 29th. We don't get this year. We don't get this day every year, Andy.
No, we don't. It's kind of a throwaway day, which is crazy.
Yeah. Just a reminder for those of you who are in the Los Angeles area, if you haven't made plans for tonight, I have a show at the Hollywood Improv, Night of Sports Comedy. Andy, I think you'd like it. I've written a bunch of sportsy monologue style jokes. And you know me, couldn't help but to get some Norm style ESPYs jokes in there.
Are you hosting?
I am hosting, yeah.
Yeah, Norm, a lot of Norm stuff was coming out last week with Shane Gillis going on SNL. A lot of people were doing or putting on social media his monologue after he got fired. I don't know if you saw.
Yeah.
And then he came back to host, which is a great opening monologue.
Did you watch the Shane Gillis thing?
I watched. It's funny. We watched live. We were already in bed. We watched the cold open and then the monologue and maybe one sketch. And then we were like, I can't. I'm just gonna say, I think SNL's terrible. I think it's terrible. Like, I'm just gonna say it. I think it's terrible. That like the cold opening was so, I was like, well, where's the joke? And then I thought, okay, well, they're gonna bring in Shane at the end because he does Trump. No.
Yeah.
I'm just like, I don't know. And even the monologue from I was like I like Shane Gillis's comedy a lot, but I was like, wait, he was doing some of the bits from his special.
Yeah.
Which I was like, what? And then I didn't know if he was trying to purposely get all the stuff that he quote unquote shouldn't say in there. I don't know. I just, let me put it this way. I'm like, who are these people on SNL? Do you remember growing up? And that's what I was trying to tell Brittany. I was like, dude, growing up, you were like, oh, Adam Sandler and David Spade and Will Ferrell and whoever. Every cast member, I'm like, I don't know who this is.
Well, you didn't know who any of those people were until they were on SNL.
True. But that's kind of my point is once they're on SNL, I knew who they were.
So a couple things. SNL is essentially, I think we've talked about this on the show before, but I've essentially heard like SNL is geared to people in high school and in college. Like everybody's favorite SNL cast is when they were in like high school or middle school or college. It's like, that's who it's for. And so everybody's like, oh, I don't even know any of these musical artists and whatever. And it's just like, imagine in the 90s being like a 40-something-year-old guy. I mean, like, where are the Beatles? Who's this Nirvana? Like, it's kind of the same thing. That being said, I was actually really shocked that Shane didn't do more about, the getting fired. He literally mentioned it for 1 second, and then he started doing, like you said, bits from his special. We have a clip on the show today about an NBA conspiracy theory. I have watched a few clips about SNL, specifically Shane Gillis monologue conspiracy theory, because I watched it and I only watched a couple of sketches, but I did watch the monologue, and he keeps referencing the crowd not liking it. But when you watch it, it sounds like the crowd is loving it. And now there's a conspiracy theory that SNL added a laugh track during his monologue. Because if you watch it as a comedian, if you watch it, you're like, he's doing great. But then he keeps saying he's not doing great. And I'm like, that's an interesting conspiracy.
Well, I couldn't tell from watching it.
Because we've seen hosts bomb before. We've seen like Louis or Chappelle go on and the room's on its heels a little bit. And,
But I think that's part of the fun too. Like
totally.
right? Like
those guys do that on purpose.
Like Bill Burr too. I remember his bit
Yeah.
about women and then Michelle Obama.
Yep.
And it was like you knew they hate this bit.
Yeah.
But he's like, I don't care.
But Shane is actively saying, oh, you guys don't like this. And it's like, sounds like they do. So Shane Gillis, laugh track conspiracy. Who is running the laugh track? The same people who were running the scorers table during 90s Bulls games? That's a tease for a story later in the show.
Yeah, I mean, look, but back to your point about high school. That's not the case now, though. High school people aren't. They're on TikTok.
Right, right. But I guess my point is, you think about like, dude, I'm a pretty big like hip hop fan historically, but at the same time, it's like I can't name a 21 Savage song. You know what I mean? Like you watch these shows, you're like the guests, the musical guests are Olivia Rodrigo, and the hosts are, you know, who the fuck ever. It's like it's for a younger. We've aged out.
No, we have
probably a long time ago.
But I would also counter with the point. Actually, I said this. I said this to my girlfriend. I said the difference, which is the difference with all media and entertainment now. I said the difference now is in the past, SNL was a launching pad. It's not. Dude, I said, if you asked any kid nowadays, would you rather be on SNL, have a million TikTok followers? They're all going to say TikTok. Because that'll propel you to a very successful financial career. It's like a lot of these things, not just SNL. They're at this point outdated. And all the kids nowadays, they love YouTube and they love TikTok and Instagram, and you know, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Like I was having that same discussion about local radio, and we've talked about this on the show. Like, no lie, I'm saying this with all sincerity. Does local radio really even exist? And if it does, it will at some level. In 25 years, what is that? When all the older boomers die out and they're dead.
It already does. It already essentially does not exist. I mean, you can go back almost. I mean, I went to school. I've joked about it a million times, but like you go to journalism school and like basically the three arms of things that I worked in were like newspaper / magazine, radio, television. Television's the only one that literally exists anymore, and barely. I mean, I worked in radio when I first got out of school. I would intern at radio stations when I was still in school. Within 5 to 6 years of me graduating college, that's 20 plus years ago now. You're looking at Jack FM and iHeartRadio. They're just playlists. This is not a DJ that's there putting a song on and telling you about it or talk. Like it's essentially, I mean, the radio's been AI for 15 years where they just go, this is literally top 40. It's just going to auto play every once in a while. If a radio station had a DJ call out sick, they wouldn't miss a beat. Half of them don't even have them. Like, now you're talking about like morning radio or local radio or yeah, NPR will always still exist because it's fucking publicly funded. And that's about it. Like that. Yeah. There's even, are boomers even tuning into fucking local radio? If they are, it's not for long. Because the thing is they're not a purchasing group, right? Like those people aren't hearing anything and then being like, "That's true. I got to go down to the tire store and get new tires."
Well, they must be because it still exists and people are still doing advertisements. Like, I don't know. Like I know growing up, it's probably the same way for you. Like it was a big deal. Like the local radio person was like a big deal.
Oh yeah.
The local morning show, whatever it was. And I don't know. It's just that would not be a gig I want to be in. That's all I'm saying. It wouldn't, So I don't know. But I am excited to get to this little bit later in the show. And we don't even have to do it later. It's I wouldn't say put on your tinfoil hats because it doesn't seem like it is a conspiracy.
Yeah. I had seen clips of this. And I specifically saw the clips. Basically, is it Pablo Torres?
Correct.
I had seen clips. I don't know if he's got a podcast or if he just films his radio show or what. Again, I don't know where this person exists anymore. But I had seen clips coming across TikTok and the TikTok kind of blurb, the TikTok kind of graphic on it says like 90s Grizzlies scorekeeper admits to like cooking the books. And I watched a few seconds of it and I'm like, okay, who gives a shit? Like the Grizzlies existed in Vancouver in the 90s. I don't know. Like, is this guy just trying to boost the Sharif Abdur-Rahim fucking stats? Like what, And then shout out to our dirtball, August Keenan Soto on Instagram this morning, who said, oh, it's like way deeper than that. Essentially, all of the 90s scorekeepers were cooking the books, giving assists and rebounds and blocks and steals. And obviously you can't give points where points don't exist, but everything else. And this goes for specifically, they reference the Nick Van Exel 23 assist game. And then there's a breakdown of just how these things even affected the NBA on a grander level, like things with Defensive Player of the Year. So I think I threw some clips in our rundown. If you want to,
why don't I
show people what we're talking about?
Why don't I pull up the first one? Is the stat padding of a 23 assist Nick Van Exel game when he's playing for the Lakers, and basically the guy who's doing the stats was a Laker fan. So and you'll see it. It's like, wait, how is that an assist? It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, he's a stat keeper from 19.
Okay, hold on. Let me reverse this. Okay, all right. So here it is. So this is the Nick Van Exel 23 assist game.
That a poster had heard from a friend about his experience as a stat keeper in the NBA. He's a stat keeper from 1997, the Vancouver Grizzlies. This is peak Jordan era. This scorekeeper is saying he was cooking the books for the Vancouver Grizzlies. I remember vividly watching SportsCenter and Nick Van Exel
in the Laker game where he has like a zillion assists.
23 assists. This is what he said. Because I'm a Laker fan, I gave Nick Van Exel like 23 assists one game. If he was vaguely close to a guy making a shot, I found a way to give him an assist.
I want to just start fact-checking this. When you go back into the archive and see this game now with fresh eyes, what does it actually look like?
If you watch the film, the very first assist that Nick Van Exel has, it's not even on the screen. Passes it to Nick Van Exel ostensibly, but we don't actually see it on film because we cut away to Sharif Abdur-Rahim, and then suddenly on the left side of the court, Eddie Jones is dribbling up and takes 5 dribbles on the left side and then pulls up for a pump fake three-pointer. Way after the fact, when you look at the box score, I couldn't believe it, but the time stamp of that play, it says Van Exel assist.
It feels like an assist by neither the letter or the spirit of the law.
Yeah, so there were 23 of these. To be fair, there were legit assists here in this game. The idea isn't that he didn't have a good game, Nick Van Exel. It's that it wasn't a 15-assist game, it was a 23-assist game. And the key is, you're more interested in 23.
That's the only reason I remember it.
So I remember this moment, and now I'm learning it's all a lie.
Wild.
What's amazing is, you talk about the technology that, the world, how the world's changed, it's kind of what we segued in from. But now the way that there's so many people that watch these games so closely, that watch the stats so closely, there's a million people that are doing breakdowns and, the NBA Einstein and, all of these things. Like, you would never get we've seen it in NBA games. Like, a guy will shoot a three and then 20 minutes later, because somebody on Twitter put a screenshot of his toe being on the line, 20 minutes later, the NBA will go in and adjust it. The shot that LeBron James made with 16 minutes left to go in the second was, fucking, or 12 minutes to go in the second was a 2-pointer adjusted. And you're like, whatever. So you can't get away. You couldn't get away with, I would say, you could probably get away with a borderline assist now, but you're not getting away these days with a rebound that you didn't get, with a block you didn't get, with a whatever, just because there's so many eyes on it, so many social media accounts, so many things. And this, like, you look at this example, dude, they inbound the ball to Nick Van Exel in the backcourt. When they first show Eddie Jones, he's at midcourt. He's already got the ball. Like, he essentially brings the ball up and shoots a three. Like, this is not an assist. It's wild that the guy references this specific game, and the first assist they go back and check, that's what it was. I mean, I remember the Nick Van Exel 23 assist game.
I kind of do too. I remember thinking like 23, because he played here locally in college, so I always followed his career loosely, especially with the Lakers.
And if you dive deep on this, I mean, it's a lot of 90s stuff. Obviously, there's a lot of John Stockton assists where the guy literally says, he's told, like, it's John Stockton. That's an assist. You're like, now you're talking about all-time records. You're talking about all-time records.
I think the NBA, and we already know this from the what was the ref?
Tim Donaghy.
Tim Donaghy. And then you see some of that stuff, like Netflix has it. It's like, I think the 90s era in the NBA has a lot of black marks that are suddenly being uncovered. Also in the era, when it really grew. Now, obviously, Magic Johnson and Larry Bird saved it in the 80s, but it really started to take off.
Yeah, well, Magic and Larry made basketball something that people were even talking about and wanting to tune into. Then once the NBA had the eyes, I mean, no doubt about it. This is what we've always talked about, or I've always talked about with the Michael Jordan lore, which is, it was a decade-long, essentially, campaign to bring the world to the NBA. Here's the guy. Here's all his sneakers. Here's his Fruit of the Loom. Here's Gatorade. Here's the thing. He's on the dream team. Blah, blah. It was a, this is our moneymaker. Everything points toward him. I mean, we've all seen the clip at this point of Magic and Larry joking in the press conference for the dream team. You can't touch Michael. You're going to get a foul if you even get close to him. Like, this isn't even necessarily like a conspiracy at this point, that the 90s NBA was built around favoring Michael Jordan when it comes to winning, when it comes to getting him to the line, when it comes to promoting him nationally, promoting him globally, partnering with Nike. And now, and this is the next clip, statistically promoting Michael Jordan.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. This is the block one.
Historical basketball record.
Okay, so let me rewind this. So this is the stat padding on the blocks in the 90s. And again, this
Blocks
is
and steals, essentially.
Blocks and steals, yeah. And this is This is pretty wild.
In the historical basketball record, what does that gap actually look like?
He described it as assists were being given out like candy in the 90s when he was around. I think blocks were highly subjective. And the data bears out that when we go back to 1984, when blocks were first introduced into the box score, there is a 25% gap between the home block rate and the away block rate. That means for every 3 blocks, there's another fourth that's given to the home team.
But like an extra freebie block for every 3 you get is literally like the difference between an all defensive team nomination potentially.
But when you look at the numbers now, the number of blocks for the home team this year, 4,087. The number of blocks for the away team is 4,026. So that's a gap of 61 blocks. It's basically equal. You want to know what 84 was? The gap between home and away blocks?
Please.
1,102. And when we look at the 97-98 season, it's still over 1,000. And this kind of matters because when I think about, take LeBron, okay? LeBron versus MJ. In the context of Michael Jordan, LeBron, this is really important. A lot of times we say LeBron didn't win DPOY, Defensive Player of the Year. Michael Jordan did in 1988.
Yes, this is an enormous plank in the Michael Jordan political campaign.
So I had this moment of like, the 88 DPOY can't be a lie. When I pulled up Basketball Reference, this is what I saw in his stat line. Home and away splits. 165 steals at home, 94 steals away. 84 blocks at home, 47 blocks, about half away. And
that's pretty bad.
80%.
When it comes to like how obvious that gap is.
Andy, when you break down, if you go back in that, just when you break down 160, I think it was 165 blocks.
64.
164 blocks or steals. Is it steals? On the road, at home versus 94. That's 70 blocks. That's 70 steals. That's almost a steal a game. That's almost a steal a game.
And a steal game is a lot. Like an extra. If you were looking at your stats,
dude, if you look at Michael Jordan's stats, just career-wise, Michael Jordan has 2.3 steals a game. You take that down. Let's say you take the 0.8. You go down to 1.5 steals a game.
It's a lot.
Any guess how many steals a game LeBron James has?
I guess 1.2.
1.5. Michael Jordan and LeBron James have the same amount of blocks per game. Blocks per game. Which was already like, how? I always was like, how? And these are the things that people criticize LeBron James for in this good conversation. Oh, yeah, but he doesn't play defense. Michael Jordan was locking people down. Look at the steals. Look at the blocks. Look at the defensive player of the year. Dude, can you imagine going from 2.5 blocks a game down, or 2.5 steals a game down to 1.5 steals a game? That's a huge difference when you're considering defensive player of the year. Can you imagine going from a block a game to half a block a game?
I mean, not just the awards. Money. Now, gambling wasn't a thing back then, so it doesn't really matter as far as it being legal everywhere like it is now. But there's a lot of factors in play with stats here.
Now, listen, some of this stuff is going to be home versus road, home scorekeeper. You know, they talk about that
Sure.
in baseball all the time. That's an error. That's an error on the road. That's a hit at home. You know, that kind of thing. But this is, I mean, it's egregious. When you look at the gap between, you know, there's a difference of 64 home versus 1,100. Then it's insane.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder what was going on. I mean,
essentially what was going on is I don't think it was as simple as I don't think it was a conspiracy in that like let's boost it. It was just no one's fucking checking because there's not a million cameras on it. You can't immediately pull up the replay. You can't rewind. I mean, think about an NBA game. Think about watching an NBA game in the 90s. Unless you put in a VCR tape, you can't just like watch that game later on.
Yeah,
You're getting it on SportsCenter. So when you get the Nick Van Exel 23 assist game, they're showing you 10 of them. They're showing you the 10 real assists. They're not showing you the one where he fucking
hands the ball off to him and Eddie Jones goes up the whole court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not a conspiracy. Let's boost everybody's stats. It's just stat keepers being dickheads and no one fact checking it because it's essentially impossible to fact check. And then when the day comes where everything is seen 25 different times, you can just TiVo back in the day or DVR. You just go, let me go back. That they had that as an assist. All of a sudden, scorekeepers are like, well, we can't do this fucking shit anymore. And now all of a sudden, historic numbers are coming into question.
But it won't matter.
No, of course it won't matter.
Also because this is on TikTok. It's no mainstream is going to cover this. One, because they have deals with the NBA.
But also, oh, well, it's fixed, right? It's already been fixed. We fixed it.
Yeah.
Now, what we need is the Barry McCockiner, or what we need is the psycho fan out there. Who
breaks down every one of Jordan's steals.
Yeah, every one of Jordan's steals from a fucking Defensive Player of the Year season goes back and watches old VCR tapes and it's like, yep, turns out. But even that, that'll get 600,000 views on YouTube and no one will fucking talk about it again.
Yeah, it's insane though. That it's cool. You can go back and watch all this stuff. That's why, to me, the selective memory, especially with the NBA, is so funny. People always want to be adamant about something, and you're like, well, you can just go back and watch it. That's not true.
Yeah. Well, it'll be nice is in like 10 or 15 years from now when everything's been digitized and we can have AI rewatch the whole season and adjust Jordan's stats. That'll be great.
I mean, Jordan created a golf course to favor himself. I mean,
yeah.
He built his own golf course.
Again, in this, although, I was about to say in this situation, it doesn't feel like Jordan's, directly involved, but then I'm like, oh, he probably did fucking talk to the scorekeeper. It's like, yo, if I'm involved, that shit's a steal. If I'm involved, that shit's a block.
But then again, it's not just Jordan. We're talking Nick Van Exel.
Yeah.
I mean, how many of the stars were favored? And how many of the stats are padded? I mean, look. You had a guy, let's go way back. Oscar Robertson. I mean, you know how insane his stats were.
Yeah. Career,
50s.
triple-double, that kind of thing. Like that whole, you're like.
That's what I'm saying. This time 50s and 60s. And we've already talked about Wilt Chamberlain. There's no video evidence of the 100-point game. Didn't happen.
Yeah.
And if it
just
did,
after the game, some kid who was a scorekeeper was like, you scored 100. They're like, what? How do you figure? Don't worry about it.
You know what's the equivalent to? It's like your buddy. I remember buddies who do this in college, but they'd be that say like, how many beers do you think you had yesterday, last night? How many beers do you think you had this weekend? And you just toss out a number.
Yeah.
I probably had 60 over the last 2 nights. Yeah, okay, let's run with that.
Yeah.
When that could be 40.
Meanwhile, it's what's so funny is like it precisely 100-point game for Wilt Chamberlain. It wasn't 101. It wasn't 99. It wasn't whatever. Like the NBA single game scoring record would stand forever like 100 is like sort of like, at least it's in the realm of possibilities. These guys are scoring 70. You know, you get one of these Kobe Bryant exhibition style games where the other team lets some guy score, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's in the realm of possibilities. It would be untouchable if the guy who handed Wilt Chamberlain a piece of paper just wrote 130 on it instead. It's like, you scored 130 today. He's like, 130. Just holds up 130.
Yeah. Imagine if Kobe had played back in that day with his fans.
Oh, yeah.
It put 250 points on there.
Yeah.
Mamba mentality. It's nuts, though. It really is that you can see these things and then you can go back. You can analyze if you really want to do that. Sports is like
but just think about it. Think about it as compared to today. Just imagine LeBron James has like a finals game where he goes 40, 15, and 10. And one of those assists is bogus. I mean, LeBum 824 on Twitter would be like,
let's cheat.
Look at this assist.
Let's cheat.
Le bitch.
Le
The
fraud.
bitch mentality 824. This is a fucking bullshit. It says, I will be petitioning the NBA to take away this finals triple-double.
It's wild. It
Meanwhile,
really
like,
is.
Michael Jordan wasn't on the court for this steal in 1988. It was actually a steal between two different bench players on the Bulls, one who wore number 2 and one who wore number 3. So they credit it to 23.
I mean, it wouldn't even surprise me if that happened. It's nuts. I do love this stuff, though. I love when you hear about this stuff later. You're like, whoa, 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 whoa. I mean, that Nick Van Exel thing is egregious. The clip they show with Eddie Jones.
That's just the first one. It's the first one of the game.
That's the first one. He didn't even bring the ball up the court. He literally handed him the ball right away. And guy dribbles down, does a pump fake, and drains the 3. It'd be like, so the Lakers have a big comeback win last night, right? Against the Clippers.
Yeah.
It'd be like his final stats would be like 40, 20, and 20, LeBron's. Like, that'd be the 90s. And I never thought about the fact that you couldn't rewind, man. Like, that's insane. Like, we're just so used to it. You couldn't rewind it unless you had it taped on VHS.
Dude, it wasn't until
TiVo was like 2000s, man. Early 2000s.
It wasn't even until the late 90s that, as a Knicks fan, if I missed a Knicks game, if I didn't literally tape a Knicks game, it wasn't until the late 90s that they introduced like Knicks Rewind, Knicks in 60, Knicks whatever, where you could go back, the next day on MSG at 1 p.m., they're showing you a 60-minute version of the Knicks game with just like all the highlights. You know what I mean? That's the night. Like, people coming home and watching shit on VHS.
Dude,
I'm
TiVo was
taping the game. Don't tell me about it.
TiVo was introduced in 1999. 1999. Like, I remember when I worked for a moving company specifically, and this is still like 3 years later, one of the guys was like, I got TiVo. I'm like, that's fucking cool. He's like, yeah, dude, I can fucking tape shit digitally. Rewind shit. That's early 2000s. Now you can zoom in and see what's on LeBron's face and see what he had for his pregame meal. You're like, oh shit. I think he had a burrito. I think it looks like a burrito. which probably wouldn't be the best.
It's amazing. I mean, it's amazing. Michael Jordan's just getting steals that didn't happen, and no one's saying shit. And then they're like, LeBron only reads the first page of every book. We have broken down every picture of LeBron James reading in the history. You're like, Jesus Christ, guys. Michael Jordan's winning Defensive Player of the Year. They're like, no player ever has recorded this many blocks, steals, and points in a season. You're like, yeah, they still haven't. You guys just made some of those stats up.
Does it make you wonder about other sports?
Yeah.
Right?
Of course.
I know. It makes you wonder about everything. Now, it's tough to, as a scorekeeper, it's tough to fudge.
Right.
Yards in a football game,
but it's not. That's why it's like things like blocks and sacks kind of came around at the same time, and it just is in terms of like keeping track of things. And then it was like, oh, half sacks. Speaking of which, I almost did a joke about like how many yards OJ had, like how many yards did he really have? It reminded me, we didn't even talk about it, Andy. We didn't.
Oh my God, we didn't talk about it.
How did we not talk about this?
You know why we didn't talk about it? Because you were sending that stuff to me on like a Friday night. Like it was late. It was late East Coast time. It was later.
This is a Dirty Sports exclusive.
And you know what? This is wild because there's not much online about this.
This is wild. So, my brother, John, lives in Marina Del Rey. He lives in a famous, a well-known apartment complex. I don't even mind where he saying where he lives. He lives in Mariners Village, which
because it's a massive complex.
It's a massive complex. Thousands of apartments in there, but it was supposedly like a swingers place in the 70s. It all looks like a fucking pirate ship. Lana Del Rey's got a song that's based on. I think she used to live there. Anyway. My brother lives in one of these apartments. I'm not going to give the address that's listed on this letter even.
Is he still in the same spot?
He's still in the same spot, yeah. And he gets this letter to his door.
I thought this was fake. It looks almost fake.
This is a picture he took and sent me.
I know.
And he told me that this was taped or like stuffed in the door, like every door there has like a screen door on the outside that they just like open the screen door and they put this in. So on literally hundreds of doors, this note, a printed note, was placed. This is regarding your neighbor named Jason Simpson. And then it lists his address and unit number.
How is this legal, by the way?
Oh, it's not, for sure. Please be advised that Jason Simpson, based on new evidence, is currently under investigation for his involvement with his father, OJ Simpson, in the June 12th, 1994 murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Jason is now aware that he is under investigation, and that is why you, as a community, need to be made aware of this. You may, in the near future, discover journalists from the news media present on the property who are following this investigation. Now, this is clearly some either nosy neighbor, asshole neighbor, maybe the guy who lives next to Jason Simpson knows about him, blah, 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 blah. There's also, and I send it to you because I like Googled it, there's also this like one reporter in Texas, this one journalist in Texas.
Investigator
no,
he's a
Texas.
PI.
Yeah,
private
investigator in Texas whose theory is that Jason was involved in the murder. And it's just like from a few weeks ago, there's a news story about him saying like he's got the evidence, he's got the murder weapon, he's got whatever. Like, first of all, there's no way this guy has a murder weapon. Like if the murder weapon's out there, that shit would have been in a furnace forever ago.
Well, there's always been rumors.
There's always been rumors
that OJ's son was involved and helped kill his own mother, or helped hide the body, or not hide. I mean, the body, was involved. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
Now, because his son would have been in his 20s.
Yeah.
I believe. So this guy in Texas, his name's William Deere. He's 86 now. This dude's been like following this forever. He had this. I read the article.
It's crazy that we're coming up on the 30th anniversary.
He claims he has prescription bottles, blood vials, and clothing that belong to OJ's oldest son, Jason. He even claims he has a Jeep that was Jason's. Jason Simpson. And then, like you said, he says he has the murder weapon, the knife. Because according to him, there's
In a
no way.
storage unit.
Yeah, it was in a box left inside a storage unit. And the unit was auctioned off, and that he ended up with it.
0%
there's not much.
that's the knife.
What's that?
0% that's the knife, but
Yeah.
because let's say you had a storage unit and that's where you stuffed it, you stuffed the knife in a box and hid it in the storage unit, you're not letting that storage unit go up for auction.
No.
Also, at some point you drive with that knife and you just throw it off a fucking cliff. Right?
I would saute some steak with it.
Yeah.
Maybe make another burrito. So
Fun fact about June 12th, 1994. It's during the NBA Finals, Knicks Rockets.
Yeah. And
Vernon Maxwell had 60 assists in that game, which now I'm starting to question.
That's hilarious.
Starting to question.
So you think a neighbor printed this out and put this on everybody's door?
Either that or like this guy, this reporter, or this investigator down in Texas has somebody in LA, finds out that this guy moves, decides to, he gets somebody that he knows in LA to go around putting this door to door just to, rile up Jason, rile up whatever, maybe he wants Jason calling him, be like, I know you're fucking behind this, blah, blah, blah. I'll kill you. And he records that.
No, no, Nicole Simpson, that would not have been his mom, right? Because he's
correct.
That's from a previous marriage.
Yes.
So yeah, he's like 20 years old at the time. No, I'm sorry, 94. He's 24. This is all fascinating stuff. Also, lost in this, your brother lives near OJ Simpson's son.
Yeah.
Well, look, they convicted the guys who allegedly, I mean, I shouldn't say allegedly. I mean, they're saying I don't know. There's still a lot of discrepancies out there. Who killed Jam Master Jay?
Right.
I think that conviction was yesterday. Is OJ next? Is Diddy involved? Did somebody suck Diddy off? Is Diddy involved? By the way, I can't get enough of the Diddy stuff. And where there's smoke, there's fire.
What are we talking about?
I mean, 50 Cent's been saying this for years.
Yeah.
The Diddy stuff is insane. Not just the grooming and the sexual assault. Now we're talking about doing it to men.
Fun fact, I actually knew Cassie.
The singer?
Yeah, the girl that was the one that's kind of like blew open the whole thing. She was a model and was good friends with my girlfriend at the time, who's a model. Like, this is 20-something years ago in New York. It's like 19, 20, 21-year-old models. And she's like, yeah, she's like dating Diddy. And then all of a sudden, like, stories were coming back that like, oh, he's a piece of shit. But they were together for a while. But I had heard all this stuff just via that. And then when that name resurfaced, that's kind of like what started the snowball effect on now all this other shit coming out, because he paid her off pretty quick. And it was like, that story went away.
If true, it's a weird move by Diddy. Hey, you're going to have to suck me off. I'm going to film it. But if you ever tell anybody, I'm going to release the film. What? Wait, like that seems to be his MO. Wait, that's your move? Aren't you blackmailing yourself too, man?
Yeah.
I don't know how close you follow. I was digging yesterday. Black Twitter was on one, as the kids say. And you know what? To bring it back to Cat Williams, I feel like all the wild stuff, and we shouldn't even say, wow, oh, Cat Williams, dude. I'm just saying. Seems like a lot of stuff is true. But the Diddy thing is interesting, is he just keeps paying everybody off.
Yeah. He's so
just,
goddamn rich.
But you're also just admitting it.
Yeah.
I might even read that. It's like a 70-page court document.
Ooh, Ruther printing out some court documents, gonna get down and dirty. And on the 30th anniversary of OJ, he's like, let's ride.
Well, I find all this
Do you think
stuff.
Diddy ends up in jail after this shit? No.
I'd always say no, but man, there seems to be
a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. It's like these days when shit starts to snowball, people are like, oh, well, if we're all talking about it.
I never thought Harvey Weinstein would be in jail.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not comparing those two, but like in this day and age, there's so much. If there's so much evidence, but also like we're talking like a billionaire status kind of stuff. Like that's when you get out of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, we still don't know so much about the whole Jeffrey Epstein, saga. So it's like, I don't know. But, if some of these things are true, like the Meek Mill stuff and the Usher stuff, I don't know. It's pretty wild stuff, man.
Yeah.
But none of it surprises me. I'll say that much. Like, I don't think I could see something where I'd be like, oh, that surprises me. Like, none of it. I don't know. Craziness. I mean, who knows? You might find a 90s NBA report, late 90s, that Diddy had 10 assists against the Knicks or something when he played for the New Jersey
All
Nets.
this stuff is, I mean, the 90s.
90s was a good time, though, man.
It's a great time.
Nobody gave a shit.
We just didn't know what was going on behind the scenes.
No, we didn't.
The Illuminati at the time was just wilding.
Ah, bro. You didn't care.
Yeah.
90s was chill, man. It's a good era, I always say.
The 90s Illuminati, they're all just sitting around a big table and they're like, all the politicians are going to an island and fucking girls with this Epstein fellow. Like, no one will ever find out about that. Don't worry about that. We're all invested in Nike. Just make sure the stat keeper at the fucking United Center keeps pumping those steals, keeps pumping those blocks. No one's going to be able to touch us. We're all invested in Jordan Brand. We're all invested in Gatorade.
But now everybody's on blast. Like you can't have a shitty locker room. The players will let you know in the NFL.
Yeah.
Like, things are a little different now.
I love that. I love that.
I love it too. I love the NFLPA survey of the team facilities, the owners, the coaches. I love it. And apparently the players do. I don't know if you've seen this, which is important. I guess 77% of the players filled it out. I saw multiple players say, former players say, the one thing NFL players take seriously, like they don't give a I guess they get forms to fill out all the time and they don't care about a lot of them. But this is like one of the most important forms because the players want to be able to vouch their, approval or disapproval of what these teams are doing. And there's a lot of surprises too, which makes it kind of interesting. Right? So like yesterday, and obviously I'm not a biggest JJ Watt fan, but I think he probably speaks for players. He said in meetings when they hand out voting sheets for Pro Bowl, top 100, etc., we've seen many toss in the trash, put down only friends' names, make a rookie fill it out, etc. The two I've always seen taken the most seriously are team captains and NFLPA ownership facility report card. And I saw another former player say the same thing. Like, they take that shit seriously.
Yeah.
So we did this last year. We covered it, and we'll cover it again this year. The player report card, again, it's all anonymous, and 77% of the league, like I said, participated. And it's based on the following, 11 categories: treatment of families, food, cafeteria, nutrition, dietitian, locker room, training staff, weight room, strength coaches, team travel, head coach, and owner. Now, there were some surprises and some things you're like, oh, go figure. Not surprised at all by that. So the top 5 overall on those 11 categories, they rate it like school, A through F. Top 5 teams are the Dolphins, Vikings, Packers, Eagles, Jags. Your bottom 5: Steelers, Patriots, Chargers, Chiefs, Commanders. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that the Patriots and the Commanders are the two that aren't like, that had a family own the team for all these years.
Right.
That's like a common thread I see. So like a lot of people were surprised by the
Chiefs
being 31 out of 32. And their owners hated, got an F.
Yeah.
He looks like a dickhead, doesn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
Clark Hunt, every time I see him, he just looks like a douchebag with his little trophy wife.
I saw another clip saying like he's turned the owner's box into a fucking his like owner's suite at Arrowhead is like a 6-bedroom, 4-bath house.
What?
Yeah. Put Clark Hunt in an owner's suite into fucking Twitter.
Yeah, well, I'll pull it up, or you can pull it up. I'm gonna bring up what the grades that the Chiefs got. Stuff that people care about. F for the locker room, F for the training room, F- for the owner, F for dietitian, nutritionist, D+ treatment of families. And this is the main thing about the locker room. The team was I love this. The team was provided actual chairs for players to use at their lockers. Wow. The issue is that they were promised all this stuff. The team was promised a full renovation of the locker room after the 2022 season. The team never followed through with that. After they won a Super Bowl.
And listen, feel like there's some aspects of these, but like there's some aspects of it's like Arrowhead's old.
Yeah.
But you know what? So's Lambeau. And the Packers are on the fucking top of the list.
Wow. This is a video. This is a suite at Arrowhead?
Yeah.
Bro. I got to pull this up. This is wild.
And you're like, you can't renovate the locker room. You can't give us like chairs.
Yeah, this is their locker room, which has 6 bedrooms. Where do you see the staircase? Look at this.
Like
Look at this.
Yeah, it's made to look like a fucking apartment.
It looks like a house.
Yeah,
their suite is a million times nicer than my house. So here's my thing with this, and I said the same thing last year.
They have like this. The ceiling has rafters. That ceiling does not require rafters. Those rafters are not load bearing. Do you know what I'm saying?
For sure.
That's for a look.
Here's my thing on this. And again, I said this last year. Dude, just take care of your employees. Like, you're an asshole. And the same thing goes. There's nothing worse than douchebag NFL fanboys of their own team who defend shitty billionaire owners with things like, oh, the millionaires can't get meals that are good. Oh, do your job. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
These are billionaires you're defending. The Chiefs have won back-to-back Super Bowls. Provide a locker room.
Yeah.
That is
it's all
adequate.
it's I say this all the time. It's a weird thing that's happened in our culture lately of these, like, the random middle America fucking not, eating Wendy's, going to dinner at Applebee's that stand these billionaires. Like, people will be like, oh, tax Elon Musk 50%. It's like, fuck you, bro. Fuck you, dog. And you're like, bro, why are you out here? Like, he would piss on your head. Like, what are we out here doing? Like, the idea that you're a Chiefs fan and you're standing this fucking owner who promised a locker room renovation and didn't do it, but then turned his owner's box into an apartment so that he can invite the fucking guy from Modern Family to come and hang out in his living room, and fucking Paul Rudd.
It's disgusting. And it is. And you know what's bizarre? And it's like I said the same thing last year. It's bizarre. You're literally going against the guys you cheer every Sunday.
Right.
This isn't from my mouth. This isn't from your mouth. This isn't from some person in the media. This is from the players' own mouths. Hey, Clark Hunt is a piece of shit and he gets an F-. That doesn't mean that they don't like to play for Andy Reid or their teammates or with them or with Patrick Mahomes. They clearly do, because they're winning. They are putting that to the side. But it's just weird to go against the guys you worship every Sunday. And I saw this, of course I saw this locally here, because, the Bengals, which I knew were going to get a shitty rap again, and they did. And again, we're back. Justin, Randy Ruther was texting me yesterday, and I said, we're right back to where we were last year, where it's major league with the Bengals. And I mean, how can we not laugh, guys? This is the Bengals locker room. Again, straight from the report. How is this possible in 2023 for the season? Approximately 50% of the showers don't work. They either don't provide warm water, or there isn't enough water pressure. They face consistent plumbing issues that limit the amount of functioning toilets that players can use to 5. The Cincinnati Bengals are willing to spend guaranteed $250 million for Joe Burrow, but not have hot water or functioning toilets. What the fuck are we talking about right now?
And people act like, because you have a Chiefs team that, like, is overcoming a bad score on this because they have Patrick Mahomes and they have Andy Reid and they have Travis Kelce. People act like this shit doesn't factor in, but you can go back. Dude. Growing up, the Dallas Mavericks were a fucking joke. Like, it was like the Dallas Mavericks did not participate in the NBA. Like, for me, as like a 90s NBA kid, they just were not like, it was like they were just a team that every once in a while comes to town and you get a W. Like, they never made the playoffs. They never had a star. They never had whatever. Like, every once in a while they'd have a guy and he'd get traded to your team and you'd be like, oh, he's like pretty good. How come I didn't know about him? Oh, he was rotting in Dallas. I vividly remember early on in Mark Cuban taking ownership of Dallas. Not only did they almost immediately become relevant, but players going, you know why I like playing in Dallas? You know why I want to play in Dallas? You know why I want is there's like he put PlayStations in their locker and he gave them comfy chairs and the locker room. I remember the story. Look at this NBA locker room. And it was so much nicer than every NBA locker room. It was so much nicer. Now, all of these NBA locker rooms have, followed that same path. And now you go into NBA locker rooms and they're gorgeous and you see them. And I've been in the Clippers locker room and I've been in the Knicks locker room. It's a nice place to be. But at the time, it was just these little fake wood booths with a little fucking folding chair in front of it. And then Mark Cuban comes in. He's like, everybody gets a PlayStation. Everybody gets a big space. Everybody gets a couple chairs so they can sit on one and put their feet up on one. Everybody's got a safe so they can put their fucking shit in their lockers and close it. Everybody's got, and they're immediately relevant and they're immediately good. And immediately people want to go there and sign free agent contracts. The idea that this stuff doesn't affect your team winning and losing is ludicrous.
Now, people would counter, the Chiefs are overall 31st.
Because they have Patrick Mahomes and they have fucking Andy Reid. They can win games. But
Sure.
Where were they before that? Oh, this great home field advantage and this great blah, 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 and all that. You're telling me the Commanders being on that list isn't fucking duh.
Yeah, the last 2 years. Guys, the Titans. I don't know if you saw this one. The Tennessee Titans make players sit in the back of the plane where they don't fit, while staff, so we put the 300-pound O and D lineman in the back of the plane, while staff sits in first class. The Titans are one of 7 teams that require players to have roommates the night before games. Dude, it's stupid from a business sense. Like you said, don't you want good players to come to your team? Guys talk.
Just even imagine having a roommate in being a professional athlete and having a roommate. Not to mention, dude, I can you the 300-pound, the 350-pound offensive lineman? What percentage of offensive linemen do you think have fucking sleep apnea from being obese? And
all of them.
Yeah. So now you're just a guy. You're just like, oh, whoever gets to sleep first gets to sleep tonight. It's ludicrous.
Also, we've all flown on planes. Imagine a 350-pounder sitting.
Dude, let me just say something.
In a normal seat.
I just got an offer from a guy who runs shows. I'm not going to say the state. I'm not going to say the whatever. But he said, hey, I got an offer for you. Come to this city X. Okay. I've got shows. I've got a week of shows. You're going to be a traveling comic that week. It's one show in this city, one show in this city, one show in this city, one show in this city. It's like, okay. He's like, I'll pick you up at the airport, ground transportation, this is the pay. This is the ground transportation. I'm like, not a terrible offer. Right. And then I literally saw this. He said, shared lodging. I was like, I'm out. I was like, dude, I'm out. You're not, no. I'm not sharing a room with somebody. The end. Somebody I don't know. This isn't me and Ruther going to spring training. You want me to come someplace to work? And you want me to share a room with the comic I don't know? No. I'm out.
Really? You wouldn't share a room with a comic you don't know?
Well, also, mostly because, why? Why? You can't, this thing, you can't spring another $80 a night? 2 smaller rooms right next to each other? Why? And to me, it's you're not valuing me. You're treating me like I'm some fucking 22-year-old really wants to we'll do anything for stage time, blah, 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 blah. It's no, dude, I'm not. Not to mention, it's a state that would be nice to travel in. But I was like, the money's fine. It's not amazing. And I told him, I go, you know what? I could justify it and I could say, oh, I'll bring my girlfriend. It'll be a subsidized vacation. We'll go and do this and this and this while we're there. Share a room with no, I'm out. Imagine being a millionaire professional athlete and then being like, you have to share a room. Get fucked, dude. I'd like a trade.
And also, you hear about it. There's a reason these multi-billion-dollar companies like Facebook and Google and whatever, they have the state-of-the-art facilities for their employees. Oh, you want to take a break from coding all day? Cool. We have a gym. We have a pool. We have a fitness center. Whatever you want. You remember when we went up to Tune In? I don't even know if that's still a thing in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Do you remember?
Yeah.
Their office?
Yeah.
Overlooking the Giants Stadium. I don't know if you remember. It had a stage. It had a full buffet, kegs of beer. That's another big type tech startup that we were talking to at the time for some stuff. But it's like you go in there and you go, oh, I feel comfortable. I feel creative.
Yeah.
I'd like to work here. It's not rocket science. Dude, just think about this. You just lead the Bengals to a win over the Chiefs, and you're Joe Burrow, and you go in and you're not sure if you're going to have a hot shower. It's literally like, what world do I live in? And again, people who are like, they're working on improvements. We're talking hot water.
Yeah.
This is 100%, and you probably the same way for you. 100%, I can say without a doubt, in the 4 years of high school football I played, not a single time did I have an issue with hot water after practice. Not a single time was I worried about, do I have a spot to take a shit? Or how's the plumbing going to work on? Going to work. The Chiefs just provided chairs for their players.
What were they doing before that? Standing?
It's like next level embarrassing when every single NFL team, every single one, is worth at least $1 billion. We see the TV contracts. We see what they bring in.
Dude, imagine the Chargers being on the list. You just built the stadium.
Let's see where the Chargers failed in all their and what's crazy is like this doesn't even include like the coaching. A lot of these coaches did all right.
Yeah.
Like Zach Taylor gets an A from his team, which doesn't
Right.
surprise me. I have my theory on that. I think he's such a pushover. They love him. But like Brandon Staley gets a B from his team. Chargers get an F in treatment of facilities, F in food cafeteria, D+ in training room, D+ in weight room, D- in team travel. D-. Now, I think the Chargers are building a new facility. I don't know where they're training now and where the team facility is. Okay. Here's the Chargers. D- in team travel. The players' ratings of their team travel schedule position left them as the 4th worst in the league. The team refuses to send an equipment truck ahead of time, causing them to sit on the tarmac waiting for the plane to be loaded and unloaded. Dude, it's unbelievable. I mean, again, these are minor, easy fixes.
We're not talking, dude. I like, again, it's the simplest. Like, you don't have to be a brain to fucking think of it. You don't have to be a billionaire to do it. When I went fucking skiing as a kid, I got invited to go to Colorado to go skiing from New York. And my friend's family that took me there, they said, come over the day early and just bring all your shit. We're just going to ship it there. It's so that we don't have to bring skis on the plane and fucking boots on the plane and whatever. And we'll get to Colorado and it'll just be at our condo. And I was like, that's incredibly smart. We're talking about 50. I mean, I'm sure there's backups. Obviously, we've seen it, but like, we're talking about 100 football helmets and shoulder pads and fucking all the equipment, all the sideline shit, all the whatever. The players just sitting there watching fucking Southwest guys toss it into the fucking luggage thing.
Again, it's a major league. It's literally the premise of Major League, the first movie. And that's the thing. These are minor things. I remember minor things. Dude, minor things like for jobs I've had that I'm like, wow, I really appreciated that. You know? Like, oh, I really appreciated, dude, stupid little things. Dude, I remember when I worked for a moving company in college. I worked for a moving company a lot in the summers. And again, it's nothing major. And I used to work a lot, like 60-hour weeks. I work overtime. Dude, the boss would be like, hey man, you want to work like the middle of the day? He's like, this is going to take a lot longer than we thought. How about I'll take care of lunch and I'll take care of dinner. And I know people are like, well, what, dude, that was a big thing to me. It was like, oh, he's not only am I going to get paid whatever the time and a half for overtime, which I love. That's why I'd always work. But I'm like, okay, you're going to take all the guys out. And again, it's nothing major. Touch a Chipotle.
Again, like you're saying, it costs nothing. And it, whatever, it's literally
it's the morale.
It's literally just feeling like somebody gives a shit.
Yeah.
These players are just going, F, you don't care about me. And it's that whole thing. I mean, we've talked about the Colin Kaepernick thing, and I love, there's obviously the flip side of the coin. Everybody, the crybaby millionaires. It's like these owners don't care whether you live or die. It's next man up. The second you get hurt, your contract's not guaranteed. All this shit. It's like, how about treat me with some respect when I'm here? I mean, like I was just talking about the comedy thing. Like, comedians are generally treated like fucking shit.
Yeah.
Pete Sestaro and I just went on the road. We were doing some shows. Again, not going to name names. We're doing a show. We go to the bar at this, independent room, essentially. We order a beer. And the bartender's like, you have a card that I can keep for your tab? And we both looked at each other and were like, well, fuck this place forever. We're doing a show at your venue and you don't give us drinks? You don't give us a couple of beers to do the show?
Yeah, it's terrible.
You're fucking like, I'll never do a show here again.
Terrible.
The next night, same situation. It's at a brewery, blah, blah, blah. They're giving you all your beers and your ciders and your whatever. It's like, pays the same. I fuck with that place. I don't fuck with this place. It's just simple. You just like, you don't give me beer, you're literally dead to me.
Well, it is. You're right. It's simple. It's remember last year, I believe the Bengals were one of the few, if not the only team that didn't have phone chargers in their lockers. And it was the same thing. You're not here to charge your phone and be on TikTok. You're here to play football. Dude, you don't get it. It's the small, basic things. How easy of a fix is it to put phone chargers in every player's locker? And again, don't you want to keep Joe Burrow happy? Don't you want to keep Patrick Mahomes happy? Dude, the video, that video is mind-blowing of Clark Hunt.
Yeah.
In fact, he was like, I always thought he was a douchebag. He is now on my list as far as like hated owners. Like, dude, you just suck.
It's just caring about your employees. It's caring about your customers. It's caring about whatever. Like I always say, you go into a bar. I sit down at a bar. If I reach under the bar and there's not a hook for coats or for a hook for me to fucking hang my head, like this is a shitty place. Like they're not thoughtful enough to go, oh, and we should go spend 18 cents and 10 minutes to screw some of these fucking octopus hooks in every 5 feet underneath this bar.
Yeah.
But this guy, has a fucking apartment where his owner's thing would be. And they just got chairs.
And again, a team that's won 3 Super Bowls in the last 5 years. Like, dude, your players hate you. You got an F minus. I mean, at least the Bengals owner got a C plus. You got an F minus for the Chiefs. They hate you. When you stand up there after they win the Super Bowl and you're holding the Lombardi trophy, they hate you. Hate you. Now, I know you don't care because you're a douchebag billionaire owner and most don't care. But just know, deep down, they hate you. Like at this point now, it's tough to know who to dislike the most. Is it Brittany Mahomes? Is it Jackson Mahomes? Is it the owner? I'm actually going to put the owner. I'll put him number one, and it's not even close for me. I'm putting Clark Hunt
I'm still
way
putting
above
Taylor
him.
Swift number one, but that's a personal decision.
I'm not even including her in the Chiefs stuff. You want to get to a few calls?
Yeah. By the way, did you see this thing about since we're talking about this, did you see the Bengals are changing their turf?
I did.
They're literally putting the MetLife field. Like what? Like
They're putting the MetLife turf.
Rip Joe Burrow. And when I say rip, I mean your ACL. Rip.
Things have changed. Things have changed. We're not a poverty franchise. Yeah, you are. Actually, you don't have toilets that work.
Yeah.
That's the big line here. We're not a poverty franchise, but you are. Literally, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and the rest of the team said you are. You don't have running toilets, and you're putting in shitty turf. But you said it, and you're right. They just don't care, Joe. I'm not just singling out the Bengals. Clearly, the Chiefs who win don't. None of these owners care for the most part. None of them.
Well, and again, I hate to say it, but like
It's next man up.
The NFL, like that's the criticism. I mean, multiple players have said essentially we are slaves, and the counter to that is always like you're fucking multimillionaires. It's like 4 guys on the team. 4 guys on the team. That we're now at the point where the whole everybody has come to the realization that rookie contracts, I can get the same value from this guy. I can get 90% of the production for a 10th of the cost. I'm going to pay an edge rusher, a left tackle, a corner, a receiver, and my quarterback. The rest, I mean, we're not talking about, let's say, was it 53-man rosters?
Yeah.
Let's just round up 8 guys who have just mega deals. It's 45 guys on your team that are like, I don't know if I'm going to be here in 2 years or 3 years. Am I going to be in the league? Am I going to be on a different team? Am I going to be here? Am I going to be there? It's 45 guys who could be out of the league, and they've made $300,000, $400,000 for a couple years, and now they're qualified to do what? So yeah, they're like, dude, can I be treated with like a little respect while I'm here? And they're like, actually, you can't.
Yeah, no, I agree. Hey, I just got a text, and I told you that I had somebody. Apparently, I have to be here. Can we just bang out like a call or two?
Sure, let's go.
Somebody's got to look at something on my deck.
Somebody's looking at your dick.
My dick, yes. Somebody's looking
coming
at my
over
dick.
to look at your dick. PD.
But hey, let's
look
keep
at your dick.
Let's keep it NFL related.
Okay.
Question.
Yo, what's going on, Dairy Sports? This is Hunter from Michigan. Quick question for you. When do we see the next competitive New England Patriots team? I mean, it was easy to say they were just reloading when they still had Belichick as a coach, but I mean, now there's so many moving parts. They don't have Brady anymore. They don't have any of the winning team that was there at all, and they don't have the coach anymore either. And you know, people my generation probably don't really remember, but I mean, it's not as if besides this window with Belichick and Brady, the Patriots don't really have any other winning records that I know about or winning windows that I know about beyond that. So, you know, it's sort of one of these crossroads for me, because it's like they have this winning culture that has been cemented the last 2 decades, but it's like, you know, really that success can kind of be boiled down to 2 people. So now that those 2 people are gone, you know, what do we see from the Patriots? You know, when is their team going to be competitive again? So just a question that I thought of, and would love to hear your guys' take on it. All right, peace.
I mean, the answer is we don't know. You know, they rated terribly in this NFLPA. Robert Kraft rated terribly. The facilities rated terribly.
That's honestly what I was going to say. So you have everything that drew you there, Belichick and Brady, gone. You have low scores on this. You have Boston, New England. Oh, I can go there and I either perform well or I get called the N-word.
A dated stadium at this point.
Yeah. It's cold. I mean, I guess the question is competitive in the NFL. I mean, the parity is there. You know, will they be competitive? Maybe. When's the next time the Patriots actually have a chance to win a Super Bowl? Not in the next decade.
I mean, but look, the truth is this. Even before that, and you know, obviously, I've been watching the documentary on Apple, and the Deflategate episode's great. I like they skip over. They show basically the first 2 episodes that is the building up to the first title, and they skip over the next 2, and they go straight to Deflategate. And I'll tell you what, man. Belichick doesn't want to go on record. They straight up ask him on the show. He doesn't want to talk about it, and they delve into it. You watch this documentary, it doesn't sugarcoat it, how bad it looks for Belichick, how bad it looks for the team, all those things. But
what is this documentary on? Where is it available?
It's on Apple.
Okay.
Apple Plus. They do 2 episodes every Friday. But I'll tell you what. I mean, let's not forget, you know, in mine and your lifetime, now they got blown out by the great 86 Bears, but dude, they had a shot to beat the Packers. I'm saying, like,
yeah,
they were bad for a lot of years, but like they had made 2 Super Bowls within 8 years, you know,
right.
before all this. It's like they weren't terrible, is what I'm saying. I mean, you never know. It's
a different time, though.
It is.
It's a different player empowerment, free agency, all that. Like the truth is, unless you get the quarterback, unless you get something that's going to draw people there, unless Gerard Mayo becomes some, you know, Belichick, you know, version 2.0 or whatever. Like I would safely say I don't think they compete for a Super Bowl in the next decade. Compete for a Super Bowl. That's different than being competitive. I think they'll be competitive probably pretty quickly.
Yeah, I agree.
But
compete for
a Super Bowl. Yeah.
It's different. And obviously in the near future, you still have the other teams in your division, especially the Bills, who haven't won a bunch of a bunch of AFC East titles recently. So it's like, it's going to be tough. And I mean, even Bill Belichick got a B- on this. You know, he's old school. People will buy in, and you'll notice this from the doc. People buy in when you're winning.
Yeah.
They all buy in when you're winning. Okay, coach is a little much to deal with, but we're winning Super Bowls.
Right.
It's helping me make money. I'm going to buy in. But not when you're losing. So, I don't know. I think that's the answer to that. But we'll see. I'd love to do some more. We only have a couple more, but like I said, I gotta handle this today, kind of. You know, home ownership, Prano.
I don't even want to do it, you know? Like, nothing's better like birth control, and nothing's better like don't buy a house than when one of your friends buys a house and gets kids. Like, I'm just dealing with something every fucking day.
No. It hasn't been too bad here, but like
Yeah.
we've learned, like our deck, we did like a Band-Aid fix on it. The guy who and people, I'm sure a lot of people listening can vouch for this. Like, dude, there's a reason they painted the deck right before the house was sold.
Yeah.
It's like not safe. And obviously having a child, you're like, okay, we got to get this looked at because can't be having this. But yeah, this shady motherfucker. If you're listening, buddy, I'm keeping track. Homeboy, of all these things.
Meanwhile, all the people that are triggered by our Michael Jordan conversation, back in my day, we had loose nails on the deck and no one cared. The whole thing was rickety and my dad, no one ever fell through.
I actually bought my deck from the Bengals owner, Mike Brown.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him an F in the grade report. But that's what people like, it's fine. You don't live in a house for a deck.
Soft.
You live in there to sleep.
So are you having to have a deck rebuilt?
Yeah, I'm going to have to have a whole new deck. So that'll be fun.
Yeah.
Because God knows I'm not building it. I can barely put up a shelf.
I built some decks. It's as far as home improvements go, decks are some of the easier ones. Get yourself some Trex decks.
Yeah, you never seen me. Maybe you kind of slightly have with Keiko. I mean,
yeah.
There's nothing handy about it.
You were like next level than me. Like I would go and work with Brian and I'm like, I'm clueless. Just tell me what to do. And then when it was me and you, and then when I was the foreman, it was you. I'm like, Jesus Christ, what are we doing here?
It's ironic
just
that
let Andy unload the garage.
Oh yeah. It's ironic that you add an H to my name and it's handy because there's nothing handy about me. Like there's nothing handy.
I'll give a hand job to a contractor to come do it for me.
Oh, hands down.
handy.
I'll be handy all day long. Bring over Diddy and his crew. I'll suck them all off and they'll build a deck. Hey guys,
Meek Mill working your deck.
Give us a call 310-359-8365. That is the hotline.
Follow me on all social media. Come to see a show. Bye.
That's it. I told you, Joe, what I say, but we're still. Do you have any clue what we're at? What did I say today would be?
Yeah. I mean, we're in 2 minutes. It'll be an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah. So, we're par for the course. All right, guys, have a great weekend. We'll be back on Monday, and as always, stay dirty.